the Skip and Shannon split, and even prior to it. So this goes back to, I believe it was December.
Yeah.
When DeMar Hamlin had what is widely reported.
No, I believe it was that was January.
Okay. So there was something else. This had been building for a while. There had been friction that was noticeable on air, but then it really came to a head. No. The December clip was when the Tom Brady, you're just jealous because you're not as good as him, which is an outrageous, like, juvenile, idiotic statement. And there's another aspect to this that I want to point out, but Skip and Shannon are talking about Tom Brady, and the two figures they fight about the most are LeBron James and Tom Brady. Skip is, of course, like a complete fanboy, 12-year-old, sounds like a kid, like a child with sports posters in his room. What do you mean, when someone criticizes Tom Brady? However, Shannon sounded the exact same way talking about LeBron James.
He always does.
Ironically, part of what exacerbated this friction, or perhaps even generated this friction, is their fanboy, like the fanboy in both of them. And as Jason Whitlock pointed out, no, it was Kwame Brown. Excuse me, it was Kwame Brown. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, want me to just play that clip?
Yeah. Because this has been in what I thought was kind of like a shot heard around the world in a certain sphere of, it's not
God. Yeah, you are clearly like, I as you said, I've said it's a lot. You are too invested in this stuff.
It's not on the same level as when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars, but it's the sports. It's this lane's equivalent of that. Put your glasses back on.
Yeah, I don't know if I got the put your glasses back on part, but I do have.
It should be right in this.
Okay.
Hate by a guy who's jealous that he is still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Yeah, that's what you do.
The point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous.
No,
yeah, I did what I
never
did.
said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got 3 Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than you.
Better.
Yeah, what I got to see what you do? You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal.
Put your glasses back on.
Can I finish? You're willing to take a personal shot at me to say this man is better than me because I say he's playing bad this year?
Well, because you just
go ahead.
You disrespect him. It's just so. You know what? It's beneath your dignity.
You would disrespect me to support him.
Well, tell us why this was a shot heard around the world, Savvy.
Because it registered on a deeper. It was perceived as a white guy who's someone's boss, essentially, which he is.
Well, not essentially. I mean, like, he is his boss.
Flexing in a way that was just uncool and inappropriate, and like, and for all the people who like to accuse Shannon Sharpe of being a coon and all this stuff and sucking up to a white guy, it just had that overtone to it. Although Warren Sapp said he didn't. This is just one example. When DJ Vlad was like trying to, like talk about this, Warren Sapp said, no, I didn't take it that way. What I saw was, listen, put your glasses back on. We're not fighting about this. Like because taking his glasses off, Warren Sapp was saying it's kind of like a sign of like aggression, like I'm about to throw down or something. I don't know. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Was Skip throwing his weight around like, yo, get your black ass back in line kind of a thing. I don't see it that way, but it clearly was reverberated that way.
And clearly Shannon saw it that way. And that's what's most important in this.
Did he? Did he see it he saw it as being disrespected?
Well, maybe not the racial component of that, but the fact that like this essentially led to their spiral in their marriage being broken up. I mean, it's clearly that he felt like he felt wronged.
Yes. So I just want to, as counterweight to all this, so that was fucked up. And I also thought it was very, just almost like retarded for a guy who didn't do anything in his sport. I mean, didn't get off the ground in, like, I believe it was high school or I think he started a little bit in college, which we'll get to the Jalen Rose clip from almost 10 years ago or however long.
You want to go to Jalen? You want to go to Jalen next?
Yeah, but I kind of just want to set the stage a little bit, because for someone in that position to say so what to someone as accomplished as Sharpe is on its face absurd, until you remember that for whatever reason, these people in these positions are encouraged by their networks, or given license. I don't know if they're technically encouraged, but they are certainly given license to speak from their irrational fandom, right? Like it seems like these networks like these guys to be sort of sober, at least present as sober analysts, but then have one area where they're completely biased beyond the pale of any reason. And so, and so that's what we're talking about here. And let's not forget, Shannon Sharpe was moved by his LeBron James fanboy streak to get on the court and almost get into a physical altercation with an entire basketball team.
Wasn't that a couple of months later?
It was right around that same time.
Yeah.
Like, it was close enough that it was
when it was in the knit shawl.
What on earth would possess you to even go there? So it's like Shannon's ready to throw down for his fandom, and Skip is willing to say, so what? So what did you do? To me, that was a very boyish, childlike, in the moment, off the cuff. And Skip Bayless, I am a fan of Skip Bayless. It does not seem like they were handing out much self-awareness that day when he was born, or if they were, he didn't get any of it. Because like, you started it.
You mean that moment?
Yes, that moment. And so how odd this is, though, right? That this is sort of what, because I don't think Shannon was ever disrespectful to Skip on LeBron's behalf, but I mean, it's like, I do have a lot of respect for him as a broadcaster and as an analyst and as a commentator. I thought everything that comes out of his mouth when it comes to LeBron is basically worthless. It's like listening to a child with the posters in their room, like fawning.
I see that as his, the entirety of their, their production that way. But that's just, me. I see it all as just a complete and utter, anybody who does this is like, they're playing a game. It is a part. It's not journalism. It's not, it's not, it is entertainment.
But he means it enough. But he means it enough that he's willing to get into a fight. He's not being insincere. He might be playing it up.
But I think this is we're taking a detour here. But like, there are other stuff going on with the Grizzlies in the Laker game, because you had the Grizzlies who had this reputation for getting in fights with people. You had Ja Morant's dad, who who was part of this whole scenario, and Ja Morant, who had his own issues
of course,
this year, was also a part of
with
this
threatening,
scenario.
menacing behavior, gunplay, all sorts of shit like that.
Yeah, like he apparently once he pointed a real gun at his phone on IG, and then he pointed a toy gun at his phone on IG as well, Instagram. And also his compadres apparently also pointed a laser pointer,
A laser sight, or
a laser sight,
a gun sight,
a gun sight at an opposing team's bus. Like, so like there's a bunch of stuff going on there, and I don't think it's quite as relevant, but I get what you mean about, like, look, these are he is living the gimmick.
See, you're saying that
He's living the gimmick.
I don't know. Yes, he's living, but I'm saying he's a fan enough that he cares this much. I don't know why he's not immune
to live
to
the
that.
gimmick. He's Hulk Hogan, still dyeing his hair.
I disagree there.
Wearing the bandana.
I disagree.
Going by Hulk Hogan instead of Terry Bollea.
Look, that's passion right there. That's performative, but he is a fan.
I can say the same thing about Hulk Hogan.
But what I'm saying is his fandom is real. That's not concocted. That's not for effect. He dresses it up for effect, but his fandom is real.
About Ric Flair. Have you seen Ric Flair recently?
No, but I heard somebody say that they put old classic wrestlers on the side of trucks now because they know people are gonna recognize those older wrestlers, and like they don't, like, if the newer ones leave, they don't have to worry about taking them off the trucks or something. Anyway, if the guy got up out of his seat and was like huffing and puffing like he was gonna fight, that to me is not living a gimmick. That's like, this dude cares about LeBron James too much. He's a Swiftie for LeBron James.
Yeah,
he's a Bayhive guy.
That's his gimmick.
No, he's not living a gimmick. He's a Bayhive equivalent for LeBron James.
That's his gimmick. That's his gimmick. That's the
real.
role
I think that's
playing
real
on the show.
No. You're saying,
and I think honestly, this speaks to a larger thing that I believe about all these shows that obviously you don't, and we've had this discussion several times. Well, we could do a variation of this now, sure, but look, I think that these people, they know it's all a performance. That they're willing to do the sideshow. They know they're in the circus.
I think that's true to a degree. I think that's definitely true to a degree, but I think there's something maybe you're overlooking a little bit. When you play one of the two major sports, which unfortunately used to be 4, but now it's just whittled down to 2.
You're just thinking football and basketball?
Yeah. I mean, when you play football or basketball or any real major professional sport, let's just leave it at that.
I disagree
your fandom,
with you,
hold on.
That,
your fandom for that sport gets basically crushed, right? You can't really be a fan of football the same way you would have been as a kid once you play it, and the same goes for basketball. You see how the sausage is made too much.
Sure.
However, you're going to glom onto being a fan of another sport more because you can still have that for that other sport. So there's probably not many people that Shannon looks up to the same way he did when he was a teenager, but he can still preserve that same energy towards LeBron James, and it comes off terrible. It comes off horrible. I find that completely ridiculous and uninteresting and kind of just juvenile. But I think it's real. What's that?
Like the rest of his content.
I don't feel that way, but that's fine. I think it's real. There's an aspect of it that's played up, but it's an exaggeration of something that's actually there. I think Skip obviously performs his Dallas Cowboys love, but there's something real to it. That Tom Brady thing. So now you were saying when these things happened, and the one thing with the Tom Brady clip, and then the boy, Kwame Brown tore him up over this, and I thought it was well deserved.
So what were you saying?
Well, was that the DeMar Hamlin clip?
Yeah.
You're saying when these spats happened on air, the friction was too much for it to be them just acting. Like it spilled over into something.
Well,
more...
let's go. Let's show it. And and let's see
right.
The DeMar clip. And for those who don't know, I am, a nutty Bills fan.
So let's not catch you on the sideline trying to get into a fight with a Bills opponent.
The Bengals.
Yeah.
Understand? You have something you want to share this morning?
Good morning. Yes. Good morning. There's been a lot of speculation of why I wasn't on air yesterday, and I won't get into speculation or conjecture, innuendo, but I will say this. Watching that game on Monday night, what happened to DeMar Hamlin struck me a little different. As a brotherhood in the NFL, when injuries happen, when we know injuries are a part of the game, I've seen guys suffer ACLs and Achilles tear, but I've never seen anybody have to be revived and fight for their life on the field. So it struck me a little differently because I remember seeing my brother paralyzed on the field temporarily, and he was able to regain focus. Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down, but I didn't want it.
Well, time out. I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted.
Skip, let me finish.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead. Let's go, Jen.
Okay.
I mean, I cannot even get through a monologue without you interrupting me.
Well,
you could have came back, Skip.
Well, I thought
Skip, just let.
I didn't know you were going to bring up.
No,
this.
I was just going to say, Skip. I didn't want to yesterday to get into a situation where DeMar Hamlin was the issue. We should have been talking about him and not get into your tweet. That's what I was going to do. But you can't even let me finish my opening monologue without you interrupting.
Okay. I was under the impression you weren't going to bring this up because nobody here had a problem with that tweet.
No. Clearly, the bosses wanted you to offer explanation. So clearly, somebody.
No, they did not have. Nobody.
Let's go, Jen.
Woo.
Thoughts and prayers remain with DeMar Hamlin.
That's
and
not on the football game. Yes, let's go, Jen. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here from this.
There sure is a lot to unpack here. Let me start by saying first, I hate the direction this story took. I hate that Skip was vilified for that tweet. Because, first of all, the tweet is out of context. There's a tweet before that where he couches it more softly and he expresses concern. Secondly, every fucking person watching that game was asking the exact same question. So to frame this as if he was being insensitive is just wrong. He was not being insensitive at all. He was just wondering logistically, well, how the hell are they going to do this now that this event of such an extraordinary magnitude happened? Now, what I will say is this. He has dehumanized athletes before, most notably his, the quarterback to his supposed favorite team, Dak Prescott, when Dak Prescott's brother took his own life, and then when Dak Prescott confessed to having depression and needing therapy. I mean, Skip came off as a complete dipshit, a cave, somebody from decades ago who didn't understand. He's like, all right, come on, just play, just whatever, just play. But that was not what happened here. And you have to be selective and try to read it this way in order for that to happen. In fact, Jason Whitlock went so far as to say that Shannon sold Skip out by pandering to that narrative. So that's what I have to say about that. I didn't see anything wrong with that tweet. It was perfectly within bounds, not saying that this young man's life wasn't important. It was just like, well, fuck, now we have this elephant in the room, this glaring logistical issue. What's wrong with that tweet?
For those who are listening to us and only listening to us, let's read the tweet. You mind reading the tweet, Savvy?
All right. So which one? Okay. So the one on the bottom is, oh no. Okay. So I think there's one before the no doubt the NFL is considering.
Well, go for the ones on the screen and I'll try to find the other one.
Yeah, please, because I mean there's one that sets up the first one.
But
it's gonna
read what's on the screen and
okay.
I'll find it.
Okay, so no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. Then the next tweet. Nothing is more important than that young man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. I'm sorry if that was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I prayed for him and will continue to do so. So I could be mistaken that there's a tweet before the first one, but which suddenly seems so irrelevant to me. I know what he's saying there. It's very apparent what he's saying. Like, whoa, this is beyond the scale that we were expecting, but then how the hell is the league going to handle this? That's fine. Why was that an issue? And why did everyone jump on that as if he just didn't care? To me, that seems completely unfair. And it's a stretch.
This gets back to what I was saying about living the gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Skip Bayless is also living the gimmick.
Of course.
Living the gimmick 24/7. And he can't help but come out and he's got to tweet the gimmick. He has to post on IG the gimmick. He has to do the deep sigh and do the rants. It's a 24/7 game. It used to be that back in the old analog passive media days that you could turn off the gimmick and walk away.
Just did it while you were on the air.
And then you could walk away. Instead, what we've looked at, with those two, with their arguments, and with looking at Shannon, and looking at Skip tweeting that hey, look, I got to live up. I have to be this clown as Mark Maron used to call it for every comedian. Like every comedian has their clown, that they have to be this clown, this thing, this projection in relationship things. And I use it in a recent podcast, this phrase called the representative. Representative is not you. When you're on a first date with somebody, that's not you.
No.
That's this projection of what you want to show the world at that time, what you want them to see.
Right. It's on like a dimmer switch, because even now the projection is not us in our full. It's not each one of us. Like even what we're doing now, there's a dimmer switch. We're showing a certain amount of you.
Because of all the media changes that I discussed in the first hour of this marathon here, they are constantly projecting that gimmick.
Right. Marcellus said, and Marcellus knows them both, Marcellus Wiley, another media figure, said, who I'm a big fan of, said, this is a case of their two characters rubbing up against each other and not the two actual people. And interestingly enough, he said Skip is actually a very compassionate, caring person. But that you don't see that. Well, I'm not compassionate enough to give his co-host equal say in the direction of the show. That's kind of fucked up.
Look, he didn't do that with Stephen A. either.
I mean, is he in a position to deserve that?
Well, he was. Like, look, if you're Skip, he was back there he saved that show back when it was cold pizza.
Okay, but I mean, is that I don't think that's a very compassionate thing to do once you realize the person you're working with has grown into
This
your
ain't show
business.
friends. This is show business.
I get it, but it backfires, right? You thought Fox made a mistake by letting FS1 or by letting Shannon Sharpe go.
but yeah, absolutely they did.
But
But
it backfires if the tension between the co-hosts grows to a point where the show implodes or their partnership implodes. So would it not behoove someone like Skip to be like, "Hey, you're doing more, so let me."
Let's get back to the question with all the money issue, right? And the fact that they know that there's a ticking time clock in the background to know that, hey, this free money we've been printing, it's starting to go away.
Yeah.
And the question I think that I do stand by what I've told you privately, which is I think you should have gone with the 50-year-old instead of the 70-year-old.
50 ultimate memeable, meme factory.
Who's made for the next media world. Or you keep him somehow, some way, instead of, maybe you don't have him on Undisputed. Maybe you spin off a show. Maybe it's a lead-in show for Undisputed. Maybe you cut Undisputed in half, and you have Shannon, you have Club Shay Shay, and you have Skip and whoever, and Richard Sherman, or whoever it is ends up with him leading into Club Shay Shay, and you end up with a stronger schedule for it. Like there's a million different things you can do. My guess is that for the first time in that company's history, since they've taken this tack of embrace debate and doing an all day media yada yada, they're worried about money.
Worried about money enough that they're not seeing the bigger picture of what this is going to cost them in the future?
No. They're worried about whether it'll exist anymore or how long it's going to exist.
So then why would you go with Skip if that's what you're worried about?
Because you were able to build something around Skip once. And Skip made
he's done it twice.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about on Fox.
Sure, they did it once, but they can also look at this he did it before. Right.
And if you look at Shannon's TV track record was not great. He was on CBS. He was on the their NFL Today show. He did okay. Remember, it was his first real national TV gig.
Right.
He got better toward the end of the run, but no one was eager to give him a job.
No.
Prior to this.
And so I see that. I can sort of see this in music, like the same exact plays out in music. You have an established star, brings on a co-writer, or in this case, not a co-writer, but a bandmate, who then starts to draw as much attention. And the star says, well, listen, I'm the one that brought you in. But the bandmate is like, well, I've grown in my role. I'm just as important as you. I'm not sure these conversations happen between them, but that's sort of the paradigm that you can apply that paradigm in several different fields. Yes, and I think this boils down to something that we don't know how well Undisputed is going to do, or the Skip brand is going to do after this. We also don't know how well Shannon Sharpe is going to do in this embrace debate kind of setting if he goes towards that.
Well, that's the question. We know how well he did in this embrace debate setting.
He did, but we know how he did with this host.
No, I think we know. Like he did it for what, 5 years? We know
almost seven.
7 years.
No. Here's my point. The only person I've seen point this out is Andrew Schultz. What in this vilification of Skip, and yes, I think he plays into that. I think he is living the gimmick. I don't think those tweets were living the gimmick, by the way. So I would counter that there.
I've done on Jim Rome shows.
What I think he doesn't get enough credit for is he's very good at creating chemistry, and I don't think just because Shannon was great in that rapport. Hold on. I don't think that just because Shannon was great in that rapport means he'll be great just plug him in with anyone else, because Stephen A, I don't think has yes, whatever ratings are, whatever, blah, 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 however ESPN values him, however much of a superstar he is. I think his chemistry sucks post Skip
And it
leaving
doesn't
First Take.
matter.
Go on.
His chemistry sucks, and it doesn't matter. And also like Skip is great with creating chemistry. What? Like, when? Like, look, there's a reason why Skip rarely goes with a guest host. There's a reason why Skip wants total control.
Is it because you're
It's the
saying
same
nobody
reason why
wants to?
Stephen A wants total control. He
Which is
wants
what?
to shape the thing. He wants to only talk to the people he wants to talk to. I don't think you could put either one of those guys with anybody and it would be magic. I think that Skip is a brand, Stephen A is a brand, Shannon Sharpe's a brand, and like you put them next to each other and it'll be okay, I guess. I'm not. They're not. No one's really worried about chemistry, and I also, when I think about Shannon, I don't think he is so much worried about. And this, I'm just guessing here. Obviously, I don't know what's going on in his head, but I don't think Shannon is worried about going into his next iteration full time. My guess is he already knows what that is, and it's probably Club Shay Shay.
Right. It's not going to be one of these embrace debate. He's not going to do that full time.
He'll probably do a daily version of it, is what I'm guessing. I could see ESPN doing like, okay, you want ESPN 2 and do Club Shay Shay 5 days a week? Or you want to do ESPN Plus and do Club Shay Shay 5 days a week? And then we'll bring over your podcast feed. We'll license it for the length of your contract. So
yeah, but Club Shay Shay
audience.
embrace debate. Club Shay Shay is just him. It's his version of Bob Costas.
That's what I mean. Like there's no reason for him to necessarily continue down that road. Like so what? Especially if he goes to ESPN and it's like, all right, we'll sign you to an overall deal, or we'll split you. We'll cut a deal with you. You're dealing with FanDuel. Okay, we'll license you from FanDuel, like they're doing with the Omaha production show, Peyton Manning's company. Mm-hmm. We'll license your FanDuel shows, and we want you to appear with Stephen A once a week. It'll be an event once a week. Shannon versus Stephen A. And we'll make sure that your show grows. And you get to reap the profits of owning your show. And we get to have you away from our number one competitor. And everybody's happy.
Well, I mean, you say that as if, see, you don't value these shows in the first place, the embrace debate format.
Yeah.
Or the pairs of people as much as I do.
Yeah.
The fact that two people have chemistry or don't, you see as interchangeable pieces.
No.
Hold on a second. I
think you're reading me wrong.
Okay, but I'll stop for you to counter that in a second. Yeah. But you're saying it doesn't matter if they have chemistry or not. I think it does matter because I haven't watched First Take hardly in almost 7 years since Skip left First Take, because I thought he and Stephen A had chemistry that Stephen A does not have with anybody else. And I think it's assumed that because Shannon is entertaining, again, you look at this in musical terms or in athletic terms, team building, just because somebody is good in one context, he might be dull as shit with another side by side with somebody. Same goes for Skip as well. So that's what I mean by he has something intangible that he does draw out a certain kind of back and forth, a certain kind of dynamic with his. He has a track record having done that twice now, and I think that needs to be recognized as these people go into whatever next permutation. I think he's horrible on his own. His podcast is unlistenable, I find. His solo podcast, but so I mean, we'll see what happens from here, but I think that does matter. I think if Shannon ends up with Stephen A and Michael Irvin, and it's canned and just hokey and stupid and lacks the sparks, I think that will eventually, I would hope, impact their bottom line. You're
It
saying
won't.
It won't. Okay.
And I don't think ESPN cares about that. Listen to what your logic there, right? They were willing to let these people who had great chemistry, even they said you believe they did. Skip and Shannon, not Skip and Stephen A. split up.
Mm-hmm.
They experimented. They made a choice to go with Stephen A. over Max.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they care. About like having the perfect chemistry. They just throw people together randomly all the time. We're talking about ESPN here.
Yeah, but
we're talking about Keyshawn, Jay Will, and Zubin or whatever. We're talking about we're talking about remember the original Get Up crew? It was we're gonna just throw every big contract people all together. We're gonna put Jalen Rose.
McAfee was on that.
What?
McAfee was on that.
Not initially, no.
He ended up there before
he visited,
striking on his own.
Yeah, so Get Up. He ended up. You had Greenberg. You threw in Jalen Rose. You threw in Michelle Beadle, and you just throw them in together. Like ESPN doesn't. This is not a top concern for ESPN. Finding putting people with crackling chemistry together.
But it is for the sliver of people who care enough to leave YouTube comments.
You're assuming.
No. For the sliver of people that you described who leave YouTube comments, this is important.
But the thing is, that's not what they're buying.
That's not who's buying. That's
ESPN.
I get that. But we're speaking from two different universes here.
No, but we are speaking from two different universes. But let's look at what, in realistic terms, what they are, what they're looking for. They just overpaid for Pat McAfee, a hot digital property, something that they could slap on all their radio stations while they have them in their network, and get a bunch of YouTube views and get a bunch of views on ESPN platforms. All right. Plus, they'll have McAfee continue on game day and do a bunch of other stuff for them. My guess is they look at Shannon Sharpe potentially at the same thing. They look at Shannon Sharpe going on someplace like First Take similarly. Remember, we're not talking about a daily thing. It's not a 2-part harmony like he had with Skip. It's hey, it's football season. We're bringing a football Hall of Famer, and we'll let him in basketball season too. You know what I mean? It's one of it's Stephen A. and a poo-poo platter.
Basically, yeah.
And you have Shannon do his show, do his thing. You collect your money from gambling, and we're good. So yes, would the if the chemistry is not there, I mean, with Would YouTube commenters and online commenting people complain? Sure. But that is a side dish. That's like complaining about the appetizer, not the meal.
See, I disagree with this because
If
there
you're not
has
going to
to
make
be a point.
money,
Well, hold on a
if
second.
you're not
There
going to
has
make
to be a
money
point.
off that,
There has to be a point where viewer lack of engagement matters.
but the thing is that it wouldn't matter there, like because you're talking about 1 day a week.
Okay, so
And it doesn't even have to be a full show.
okay,
Like,
so in reverse. Okay, so but in reverse, or on the other hand, if FS1 can't create that same chemistry that they had with Shannon and Skip, then that they could suffer.
That's different because you have a 2-part harmony. And that's what all the reports of that Skip's trying to do. He's trying to find someone he has chemistry with to do a show 5 days a week with for 2.5 hours a day. That's a whole other ballgame versus someone you bring in for a few segments a week.
Right. Okay. So if they were trying to create a 2-part harmony at ESPN with Shannon and someone else, which we're saying you're not expecting them to do,
No,
it would matter.
yeah.
Okay. So that's my point.
Yeah. But they're not. But I don't expect that at all. Stephen A. has made it clear that that's not what he wants. I don't think that's what Shannon wants either.
No, it shouldn't be what he wants.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear based on recent reports that's not what he's looking for.
But if that were to be the format that he was being courted for by someone, it would matter. And I think that his chemistry with Stephen A. would be not.
I have no idea. I haven't seen them together.
I think it was canned and hokey and stupid.
Yeah,
and
I have no idea. I'd hate the show and wouldn't listen anyway.
Right.